Today is a very big day. I'm doing my first one-on-one vlog with a very special guest and friend of mine, Nathan Rennie. Nathan is a World Cup downhill mountain bike champion, two-time junior world mountain bike champion, has gone through a bit of a hard time recently, so this is going to be a bit of a catch-up. I've known Nathan for over 25 years now, helped him get his international career started. I actually did a magazine story with him 25 years ago. So it's going to be a good story. I'm not going to beat Nathan up too much. We're going to talk about some fun things that he did. Try and stay away from the whole career thing with mountain biking as much as we can and just focus on the good times that he had. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, please let me know in the comments. And I'd love to bring more of these to you as well, something different. Lighting and everything else, I'm doing this at home in the garage, so this is my first crack at it. I won't know until I produce it how it's going to look, so hopefully I've brought you a good product and you enjoy watching it. Thank you for watching. Here comes Nathan. Nathan Rennie. It's been a while, mate. 25 years.
It has, Mel, yeah. I've known you for a very long time, and you're one of the first inspirations that I had back in the day. You even took me into your house, and I really appreciated that, and you taught me the ways of the world, basically. So I was really appreciative of that, and that even led me into the career that I had.
That's awesome. Let's just, before we even go on to the career you had, let's go back to our first meeting. Okay, so it was 1997. I was writing for Australian Mountain Bike magazine. I spoke to the editor at the time, and I said I want to do these rider interviews. So we created the name Hollywood Mal. Nathan Rennie was our first subject. So I rang your mum, I rang Lynn, and I said, I want to do this story on Nathan. The magazine flew you from the Blue Mountains up to the Gold Coast. You stayed with us for, I think, maybe 2 weeks, and we did a couple of mountain bike races, and we did the story. So that's how I got to meet Nathan Rennie as 1997, so 17-year-old Nathan.
Yeah, I think I just had a couple of successful races when I was 15 and 16. And then you invited me up, which was great, and we just basically hung out, and I got to know how the real world actually works. You know, like being such a young person, I didn't really know how sponsorship and all that sort of thing worked, and you really did work my way through it. So
yeah, thanks for that. And then from there, I guess our relationship was I just saw you at the races. So then I was racing as a downhill racer in Australia. I'd see you at the races, I'd see you dominate, blowing rocks up, smashing corners apart. Always had such an animal style of riding compared to the rest of the guys. And I'll bring, good friend Michael Ronning into this. They're very neat and tidy, and you were pushing corners 1 foot further out each time you'd go through them. So it was always really good to watch. Let's move on from when we first met to probably our next big meeting was Mont Saint Anne World Championships 1998. So you went over as a junior rider, and what are your memories of 1998 Mont Saint Anne?
Yeah, excuse me. 1998 was just like my first time really going overseas and racing as hard as I possibly could, and I was a sub junior, but I was racing in the junior category, so I had to all of my points and whatnot made me move on to the junior class. So
I wasn't aware of that. So you were actually not really eligible to ride that event, but you got in there on your skill level.
Exactly, because my age was not in the 19 category. I was only 16.
Okay.
So
yes.
I had to, I just had to lift my game, and Mount Saint Anne is not a forgiving course. So I even had my, this is a side story, but I had my bike stolen.
I remember.
At that race. And so it's like, well, what do we do? And so we asked around the pits, and it was just like, oh, we've got a spare bike. Nathan, you can have this, and race on it. And so I was like, okay, well, thank you very much. But we had to change all the settings and do all the stuff. And ended up getting third at that race.
And whose bike was that?
Oh man, you joggle my memory now.
I remember Basta Beaver helped you out, and it was a B1.
Yeah, Basta Beaver did help out, but it wasn't his bike.
No.
He basically came to me and he said, Okay, so we might have a bike over here. So it was some sort of Cannondale. You really jog on my memory now.
Yeah.
It was 1997 or 6, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I ended up getting third at that race, and that was my opening to becoming a pro rider.
Yeah. So I'm going to recap your memory here. So what happened after that race was I again rang Mum. I rang Lynn. And I rang Lynn and I said, hey, we're in Mont Saint Anne, which is Canada. I'm on my way to Big Bear to talk to a race team about getting Chris Kovarik a deal. And you're there. So I go, why doesn't Nathan just come with me? So you, without your mum knowing, actually flew to Los Angeles without me. I didn't tell her that. And you had 2 or 3 days in LA by yourself.
That's right.
And this is so funny. Do you remember where I found you in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I was at Venice Beach. Yeah, I was walking the streets of Venice Beach, like at 16 years old, and all of a sudden, like there's Mal in his car, just like,
you
hey man, what are you doing?
It was hilarious. You crossed a pedestrian crossing in front of us in Venice Beach, California. Yeah.
It was literally like Pulp Fiction when they go
Marcellus
past.
Wallace walking across the footpath.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing. Di and I are driving along because I went over to race the Vet World Downhill Championships, which I got disqualified at. Nathan's 2 or 3 days ahead of us. Plan was, I'll get to Los Angeles, I'll give you a call, you come and stay with us. So he's in Los Angeles by himself, and we run into him at a random traffic light, and it was the funniest.
Yeah, it was literally just like, that's Nathan. Oh, that's Mal. Oh,
now,
right.
While we were staying very close to Venice Beach, what else happened? Something happened to your body while we were at Venice Beach.
Well, we're at Venice Beach, and like I've always been a bit of a fan of having like piercings and stuff. I've got tats and all that sort of stuff, and so we decided to go to this establishment which did piercings and whatnot. And so I got a tongue ring at that stage, and so like I was only young, but yeah, it was just like I don't have it now, but yeah.
Hey, I have a photo.
I've still got the scars.
I'll go through my box of slides, and I'm pretty certain I've got that documented when the steel's going through the tongue. How'd you go eating the next couple of days?
I went to fast food restaurants and didn't eat very much. And so I was a little bit swollen, as everyone knows that like if you do get a tongue ring or something like that, it does, well, you're getting something thrown through your tongue, so you have to do something about it. But anyway, yeah, I was just eating like, I was even talking to Mal. I was like, okay, let's just go to the fast food place. Let's just go there, Taco Bell, whatever it was, and just start eating, and just, yeah, it eventually got better. And then
what a time. We were just going, what are you doing, mate? So then from there, we were down at Venice Beach, we went up to Big Bear, which is at the back of Los Angeles, and we booked a ski lodge. And it's just funny how your memory is. I can't remember the logistics of what we did, but we just jumped in the car, drove up to Big Bear. We stayed somewhere. Nathan's mouth is swollen up. And one story I would like to share is Nathan was having a little bit of trouble eating, and he was a big boy. He needed his food. And one day he just goes, I think I'm ready to start eating. We took him around to In-N-Out Burger or Carl's Burger.
It was Denny's.
Denny's
it was, yeah.
We took him there and we said, oh, do you just want to grab something? We'll wait. He goes, no, I'm going to be a few hours. And we dropped you off at the door. And that was it. Yeah. You were gone for a couple of hours.
I was just eating everything. It was just like grits and like whatever else they were serving. It's just like, yeah, another serve, please. And then I was just like devouring everything that I could, because obviously we're going to have my whole tongue swollen. I couldn't do anything else, but I was just like, yeah, just leave me here. I'll be fine. I'll give you a call later.
So here we are in Big Bear. We're going to meet the owner of a team called Dave Rogers that owned a team called Crank, QRANC. I was given that contact from a mate, Tony Carson, who rode for him years ago. Your mate, Johnny Waddell, was riding for him at that time.
Yes, he was.
This is the jersey up here, if we can see that up here. So I basically went over to bat for Chris Kovarik to get him a ride, but I had this lump with me. So I said, well, we've got Chris Kovarik from Australia, but we've got Nathan Rennie. He wants a ride as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, do you remember much of that conversation when we went into Crank?
Yeah, well, that was straight after I became world champ, junior world champ. And so, like, Chris was obviously doing his good things. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, me and Chris are really close friends. And so then we we like had a bit of a talk and a bit of a chat, and you know, we were even in the office, you know, like just trying to figure this stuff out. And so we decided on an agreement for the next season, and we were basically going to come there, race for no money, just on prize money.
Yes.
And that was it. So like it was just like, okay, we'll give you guys a try.
Yeah. So the deal was, Dave Rogers, the owner, I said, these two kids are going to win races in America. And he just went, big call, mate. And I said, well, give them a bed, give them transport, feed them, and let them keep their prize money. And that was the deal. And we hung out in Big Bear. We actually raced, I don't know if you remember, we raced the Southern Californian Downhill Championships, which I think you won that day.
Yeah.
I think you won it. I actually got fifth, so there wasn't much of a depth of field because if I finished fifth in pro class, but I think you won it. You just dominated.
Yeah, I think I won it because back then it was the best of two runs. So then you have one run on one track and one run on another track, and then you combine time.
Yes.
And then I won.
Yeah. So that, and then we headed back to Australia and would have carried on with our Australian downhill season. So if that's going into, I would say, into the end of 98 to 99, you came back to Australia, and I think you still rode for Avanti until you went back overseas and rode for the GT brand for Crank. So you rode for Avanti then in Australia?
Yeah, that's pretty much right. I mean, like I was still riding a GT at the time, and then obviously I got notice from my results from overseas, and so then me and Paul King actually put our stuff together and said, look, you need to race in Australia because they're not going to continue to like support you from overseas. So we literally walked into Avanti and said, look, well, this is the thing, the season's coming up, let's put this all together. And then I ended up winning pretty much everything. So
let's talk about the bike, the Avanti, the shock.
The Avanti bike was pretty. It worked really well, but it had a moto shock in the back and an Öland shock, which, you know, if you guys know what you're talking about, the thing's like this big, and so
it was a monster.
Yeah, you put it into a mountain bike, and then all of a sudden the shock's bigger than the whole bike. It was pretty wild, but it took us a while to sort of negotiate that situation and just make sure that we had the right spring rate. Obviously, I'm a bigger guy, and so we had to like get a custom made spring for it, because otherwise I just would have been riding a freaking a wheelbarrow basically, you know. And so I eventually won that race, and then moved overseas, and then got picked up by other sponsors.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and recap our journey together, because there was a point where I dipped out of mountain biking. So what we'll do is, when you started with Crank, I went over and raced over there for a couple of rounds, and I traveled with Michael Ronning, and we rented a car and we traveled together. But I was at Mammoth Mountain, which was your first Norba. That was your first Norba event. So we've got you and Kavarik on the Crank team, and the result of that day, did you win that day? Did you win or get second? I know you and Chris were on the podium.
I think Chris won, and you jog on my memory, and someone could probably give me the direct thing, but Chris won, and then it was equal second. So
Miles Rockwell
and myself.
Yes.
Down to the thousandths of a second.
Yes, I remember now.
We're exactly the
so
same.
from that day, and I'd love to get Chris on here. So Chris, if you're watching, you're next, buddy. That day there, it was almost like the scene out of Jeremy Maguire, where Chris was just a yobbo from Deception Bay that just wanted to go do burnouts in cars, to suddenly winning a national race in America and just getting swamped, and yourself swamped by media as to who the hell are these kids. And from that point, I recall conversations with your mother. I was talking to Intense about Chris not long after that, and you were already in negotiations at that stage with Yeti. So that was your first big break. Realistically, was probably going to Yeti overseas, and that would have stemmed from that event, but you did the whole season for the Crank team with the Rogers family. So I know a story that happened at Mammoth the night you guys did well, where you both podied them, and Chris might have won 3.5 or 4 grand or something, but something about the ski lodge.
Something about the ski lodge?
Yeah, I think there was a damage bill at the ski lodge that was equal to about the prize money. Some jumping off the top deck or something onto a lounge chair down below, and there was a lot of rumours getting around about what you boys were up to.
Yeah.
Just another story.
No, it's just another story. It wasn't even that much of a story. It was just the fact that, like, we did really well. Like, that was our first real, like first and third.
Yes.
Basically, let's call it first and third. But then, so then Johnny Waddell, who was our teammate at the time, somehow fell off the off the balustrade and then landed on the couch and then broke the thing. And so then we didn't really have much of a choice. Like, we had to evacuate the building, so we just had to get out. I mean, I don't know what Johnny was doing, but he was on the ground.
So the story is true.
The story is true.
Yeah.
The story is true. And then like we did get in a bit of trouble for that, but like no one really got hurt. And the couch was broken, but you know, couches don't talk.
That was a crazy year. Was Robbie McNaughton and the boys at that, or did they come over a little bit later in the season, didn't they?
No,
there was Robbie, Jared, and a few other boys all came over.
No, you're right. They came over in their own little van.
Yeah.
And so then they were invited.
Do you know the story of the van?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, can you tell the story? So who the riders were, and just basically the story on the van. It's such a good story.
Well, it's not a massive story, but like, so the van was purchased, and then the van would cruise around to the different races, and then all the junior guys that weren't getting like sponsored like us, they just had to like pro-lib it sort of thing. And so then when they rocked up at the airport, they just opened the doors and just left it there, and then jumped on the airplane and just got, because they didn't, like, how are you going to sell a car that has been absolutely raped for the last 6 months?
I remember they had a lounge chair. I think they bought the van and a lounge chair, and that was their accommodation and transport for 3 months mountain bike trip.
They put the lounge chair in the back, and then like all the seats and everything, and that was it.
Yeah,
that was
so it was Robbie McNaughton.
I'm not going to name names.
Okay. It wasn't Robbie McNaughton. I'm pretty certain it wasn't Jared Grando, and it wasn't. Was there 3?
There were 3. Yeah.
Three stooges from Australia.
3 people.
Yeah. So, hey, it's history now. I'm sure the van's gone. So,
yeah, the van was.
Well, they left the keys in it running, so it would have gone pretty quickly.
Yeah, the van was pretty cool, but they literally pulled up at the airport and they left the keys in it and just went to get on the airplane.
It's just one of the best stories. Tell me about a story. I know this one. A bag of salt. I'm just going to go with that.
The bag of salt.
Bag of salt. Tell me the bag of salt story.
All right, remind me a little bit more.
Italy. After a World Cup, you bought a camera.
Yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so the bag of salt. So I bought this camera. I had my little knapsack, and we stopped at like a road stop there.
These are the stories I love.
As you do. And so, you know, I just had like my bag in the back, which is totally fine. I had my video camera in there, a couple of other things. And then went in, had my lunch, and then came back out. And then Tara Lanes tried to open my bag but it was glued, and she could see that it was glued shut. And I was like, oh shit, pardon my French. But then, yeah, she tried to open it up, and she's like, we've been had. And so she grabbed the knife and then opened it up, and sure enough, it was just newspaper and a box of salt. That's
right.
it.
So you'd bought a camera off someone, because you saw the camera, you saw it, and then he's replaced it with a bag of salt, pretty much.
Yeah. So I bought the camera, fine, and then he went to the back of the car. He's like, oh, no worries, I'll put it into your bag for you. And then I was like, okay, sweet. And then so yeah, by the time that we'd gone inside, he'd glued the zipper shut, and then they were gone.
They were gone, yeah. And another Nathan Rennie story that comes to mind was a wallet.
Oh, which one?
You rang me from a phone box.
Oh, from Los Angeles.
From Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Let's go. Tell us that day.
Well, you have to remind me a little bit, but
I think you had a bit of money in it because I think you had some prize money in it.
Yeah,
in cash.
Yeah, I think I had $600 in there, and so like I had nothing, and I also had my tickets to get on the plane with in there as well. So I was just pretty much
This is at LAX.
Yeah, at LAX. I was just sitting there with nothing. With nothing. All I had was my passport.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, there you go.
Because you left your wallet at a phone box or something? Was that? You think that's what happened?
Yeah, that was, well, I think that's what happened because I had to make a call and then I just put my wallet out and then closed it up, and I must have just left it there and just walked off.
Yeah.
Someone just grabbed it, and then I was just like, well, then.
Because I got a phone call that day, either when it happened or just after it happened or something, but you were going, I don't know what to do. I've got no money.
I've got no money.
Australia.
Yeah.
And this is what I loved about knowing Nathan is I didn't really have a hell of a lot to do with it, but when I did, I normally had to come up with a solution or something. So I always refer to myself as Uncle Mal to Nathan and quite a few other downhill riders of that era that I was always like the backup guy if they got into shit.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm gonna skip to another story. I want to share these stories of my time that I've spent with Nathan, and then we're going to go on to a bit more about your career. But
sure.
I think it was the World Championships in Spain, Sierra Nevada, Spain. So Australian cycling didn't really have a hell of a lot to do with mountain biking. I was fortunate enough to get a gig to go over and look after the Australian downhill team, the junior team. The manager for the Australian team had to go back, which was Damien Grundy, because his wife was having a baby premature.
That's right. Yeah,
so I was now in charge of the entire Australian mountain bike team, cross country and downhill team, junior, seniors, women, everything. So it was funny at that event is when the whole training program started with the AIS, because the head of Cycling Australia come over to have breakfast with me and wanted to know how you guys train. And I brought you into the conversation because he was looking at how much power you had and he could see that. And he's going, so how does this guy train? I go, mate, he doesn't train, he just rides his bike. But that led to 2 months later, we had our first AIS camp back in Australia. And this guy, Michael Flynn was his name, who was the head of high performance cycling in Australia. He wanted to put together a training camp to develop you guys as athletes. And we had to do athletic tests on you guys. And do you remember getting on the sprint test machine?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I mean, like we had all these like track cyclists and all that there, and like all of us mountain bikers were there, which is fine. But then like I got on the power output test and I broke the chain on the first run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, there was 4 of us holding the bloody thing on the ground because it bounced across the floor when you accelerated.
Yeah.
So you broke the chain on the second one because the first one we had to hold the machine down. Yeah. Do you remember the numbers? Because I've got a rough memory on the numbers.
Oh, I've got a rough number as well. I think it was 2,070 watts.
I think it was a bit higher. Yeah, I think you were like 2,200. And I think Sean Eadie, who is the current Australian track cyclist,
I can't remember, but yeah, it was about that.
Was 10% lower than your power output. Then we moved on to the vertical leap. Do you remember the vertical leap test?
Yeah, we did vertical leap.
And do you remember what happened?
Well, I jumped and then I flicked the thing, but I flicked the other thing on the top.
You hit and you actually hit the ceiling tiles.
Yeah.
you hit a ceiling tile out.
Yeah, so I hit that, and so like
And we had to relocate the machine. So what happened out of that though was here's Nathan, this raw athlete that's never been trained, and we had all these sports doctors came around and they wanted to know, what do you do and what do you train? And you may not remember this, but they came over and they were talking to you, and they said, so Nathan, what do you do? How do you train? And you go, oh, we'll just go out and we'd build like dirt jumps and we just like sprint at them all day and jump. And then we go back and do it again the next day. And they go, yeah, but what structure do you use? And you go, no, that's pretty much it.
That's it, yeah.
And it blew them away. And the thing that came out of that, out of the Australian downhill team, there was 2 riders, you and Chris, that were basically unprogrammable within their role of what they wanted to do. They wanted to, my opinion, looking at it from the outside, was they wanted to make you into these programmed athletes like a track runner or whatever, but it just wasn't going to happen.
No, that's it. Like the way I see it, it's like we just followed a passion, and it doesn't really matter what structure that you have. I mean, if you still dedicate yourself to every single day, I mean, every single day I would climb at least 200 meters vertical feet and then go to the dirt jumps, dig it, and then jump it.
Yeah.
That was it.
And where's your athleticism come from? So what other sports were you doing as a kid?
Well, I did soccer when I was really young, and then I did athletics as well. I did pretty well at athletics, and then I just started riding mountain bikes, and I went to my first race, and like when I was a youngster, and won. I hadn't really had any tuition. It was just the fact that I would ride up the hill every day and dig jumps, and then just I won pretty convincingly as well. And so even that day, one of the fellas come and spoke to me. She's like, "Oh, Dad, have you ever thought of doing this professionally?" And I was like, "Oh, no, not really." Like I was still at school, and so I kind of flagged it off for that. But then like I went back to another race, back to a state race, back to that, and just kept winning. And so, obviously there was some times where you'd have mechanicals or whatnot, and also like once you come into like the higher categories, like people would beat you, but then it only drew the fire kind of thing. Like I already knew what to do. I just had to tidy it up a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting that when we were, in that time at the AIS, they were actually offering you scholarships. They were coming in, so because you were such a young kid, a lot of this would have brushed over your head. But they came in. They were literally saying, "Do you want to play baseball? Do you want to be an NBL player, like a basketball?" They were looking at your athleticism with your raw power, with your vertical leap, and with your VO2 max, which wasn't too bad for a guy of your physique. They looked at all those things, and they were trying to design a sport for you.
Yeah.
And they really wanted to do it. They did the same with Wade Boots. They wanted him to go to track, and he was a BMX racer and a dual slalom racer, but they wanted him to be a track cyclist. And Wade went and tried out at Chandler. I went up there with him. They put him on a track bike, and yeah, it was quite a funny day, but another story. But yeah, so it was interesting that your upbringing and what you'd done had actually made you into this machine that they could have slotted you into one of 10 sports. And they were literally there was all these doctors, and they're all like, look at these numbers. They were statisticians looking at what this puts out. Yeah, so it was crazy.
I pretty much, I do know some of the ins and outs of that. It pretty much, they offered me, it's like, okay, you could go to the Olympics, come and train for 10 months, and we will design you to win, And then I was like, well, I'm traveling around the world racing mountain bikes, doing whatever the hell I want. It's either go to the AIS and eat regimented things, or I can just cruise around the world doing whatever the hell I want. So I just did that instead. And so after that, I became World Cup overall champ.
Yeah, so let's now go. So it wasn't long after the whole AIS involvement that's around when I started to step out of mountain biking, and I went back to racing motocross. So I started to lose contact with where you were at. So can we go to when you really got your first big deal overseas, and just go through, a bit of a brief on your international career. So go from everything, the lows to the highs, of what you achieved through your mountain bike career over to what, 2009? So we're talking from around 98 to 2009 total career?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, roughly. Like it was, like in any sport, it's pretty difficult to then like go through the highs and lows sort of thing. I mean, like when I came to 2003, like we didn't have the best support, but
Who were you riding for in 03?
we won't talk about that, but we had each other, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like as Australians, as we do, we all work together. I mean, at the time, we didn't really have a lot of support, but like it was mainly North American based. Mainly.
Okay, so this is an individual race team. This has nothing to do with Cycling Australia or AIS. This is just purely
sponsorship.
A sponsorship team racing Norba and World Cup.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So Norba, I'll just explain, was the North American Mountain Bike Championships. World Cup is a series over how many rounds typically in a World Cup?
It varies, but I'd say 7.
7. Okay, so the World Cup is a 7-round series. Our World Championship is a one day event. So
exactly,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so basically I found a good team and we all worked together, and so then that year when I won World Cup overall, we were good friends, we were all Australians, which doesn't really matter, but then at the same time we trained together and we worked really well together, and I think my previous World Cup overall was 12th, and then all of a sudden after a few good results I was ranked number 1.
Wow.
And then I was ranked, after a couple of not bad results, but then I was ranked number 3. And then that's when I went on to say, okay, this is it or nothing.
Yeah.
So like I had that many points, like this many points to beat those guys. And so
tell me about, you did tell me the other week, we had a coffee the other week, which was a bit of a catch up. You told me about the race where you won your World Cup overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, your personal preparation, but your team preparation of what they suggested you to do and what you went out and did.
Well, it's not a hard question, but it's a long question. But like we were trying to make the bike a little bit different because it just kind of suited me a bit more. Like we were drilling the holes and all sorts of doing weird stuff. And so, yeah, I qualified not too bad, but then I knew that I had just enough gap to then actually win the World Cup overall. And so I just gave it all. I just gave it everything. Like I remember in the first piece, I was just skimming and skipping all over the place and just.
So there was no conservatism and thinking, right, well, I better just get through this. It was like, do or die. I'm winning this thing.
Do or die, that was it, yeah.
And it does also sum up Nathan Rennie's character and how you ride anywhere, I think, from what I've seen. So there's no halfway.
No, there was nothing. I mean, it was just like, this may be the only chance I'm ever going to get. Yeah. So I was in the start gate and I was like, let's, swear word, pin it.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, first section was just like, I was just concentrating so hard, crossing the road, and like I didn't even know where the landing was. I just sailed into the trees.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
What I will point out is up here in the background is a jersey. You can see some handwriting on it. It's actually from Nathan, even though it's on the crank jersey, but it was the year he won. He actually rode on it World Cup number 1, 03? Yeah, 03. Yeah. And I'll put a close-up photo of that on here so you can read what it says. But that was a little thank you that Nathan gave me out of the blue, which was pretty cool, and it's obviously still here. So yeah. Yeah. And then also we have a Yeti jersey. Can you? Yeah. What year was that?
That's a one-off one.
Yep.
Because for a little while, Pearl Zoom was just doing.
That's right. Just lay it on the bench there.
Yeah. Like just doing some unique stuff. And so that's... Yeah. It's still Yeti, but it's doing some unique stuff. I actually wish people would do more of that sort of stuff, like this, instead of just like generic.
Yeah. I'll put a close-up photo of this up as well, just showing it. It's another gift that Nathan had given me quite a few years ago. But the crank clothing was good, wasn't it? How it was such good-looking race clothing.
Yeah, it was good. It's even different material.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time a little bit with the kit that you guys were running, and there was 5 or 6 of you on the team and all the same color, and that was back in the crank days. Hey, so over here on the bench.
Hang on.
Yep.
So you can just see like this is how intricate we got with the jersey. Sorry, I'm just trying to find what I'm doing here. Oh, so that's the wings and the ankle.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, never knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about the wings on the ankles.
The wings on the ankles is because I was nicknamed Achilles, the Roman messenger, who was supposed to have wings on his ankles. And so when I was 19, I decided I was with you, wasn't I?
You were with me.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah, I was with you.
Great guidance. You just said, Mal, drop me at the tattoo shop. And I go, Nathan, what are you doing, mate? He goes, just drop me at the tattoo shop. I'm getting a tattoo. And I went, all right, mate, I'll pick you up in a couple of hours.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I was said to be the great Roman messenger. And so I got tattoos on both sides of both ankles. And yeah, I was staying at Mal's place at the time, and he basically took me in as a father figure, and we just did some photo shoots and all that. This is like 20 years ago, isn't it?
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Dodgy upstairs tattoo. What are they? Tattoo studio in Surfers Paradise.
Yeah.
And I remember the place was upstairs on top of a pizza shop. You went up a little staircase, and Nathan goes in and goes, I want to get some wings on my feet, and I'm going, mate, I'll just leave you with it.
Yeah, like I just met this guy who was smoking a cigarette. It's like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Oh, good times. That was, there were some funny times that we'd had along the way. So when you become World Cup champion, what's it like going into the next year? So in downhill, do you run a number 1 plate for World Cup the next year? So do you?
Yeah, I've got them somewhere.
Okay, so you ran a number 1 plate for 2004 season.
Yeah.
How was the weight on the shoulders going into that year?
Well, the weight on the shoulders was okay because I had the confidence that I could do it, and then through that year I had good results, but I had just enough to get 3rd overall.
Yeah.
In World Cup, and I think I got 3rd the next year, and I think I got 4th the next year.
Yeah.
So, but you can't really put that as losing because you're still in the top bracket.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's not easy because like as soon as you're number 1, then everyone wants to beat you.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to beat you.
Whereas the year before you were a bit of an underdog because you were literally rated 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you come in and just chipped away, and then suddenly Rennie's winning.
Just got it right, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, basically, I mean, like winning afterwards was like, because as a racer, you're always sort of guessing if you can do it, and then you just kind of like you doubt yourself until the point that you do it, and it's just like, yes, I can do it.
Yeah.
And so that's when you stay at the top.
So talk to me about the mental. Yeah, let's go into this. So a lot of people do podcasts just want to know the result. Tell me about the mental preparation. So you're lining up for, let's say 2003, you're coming in as the 12th ranked rider for the World Cup Championships for that, or the World Cup Series for that year.
Yeah.
So you've come in, you're fresh from training, you're ready to go. Do you remember what you got at your first race? And when did it click, what you're talking about there, when did it click that you actually went, I think I was quick as the best of these guys?
Yeah, well, that's a very good point, Mal. I mean, like, when you start beating these guys, I mean, it is a mental game. And so one of the things is, like, when you start to beat the guys that are at the top, they start asking questions. They're like, well, what do you do that's different to us? Basically, I mean, like, that's a generic answer, but then, like, as soon as you start winning and winning and winning, then you know the format, and then you know your formula. So then, say when you have practice, you do every fast line, and then have a break, every fast line, have a break, every fast line, have a break, and then you've got to build your whole run together. And so then that's when you put it all
So you
together.
sectionalize the track, break it down.
Exactly. So this is
Yeah.
where I'm going to be better. This is where I'm going to be better. This is where I'm going to be better. I might be a little bit slower here, but I'm going to be better here.
Yeah.
You know?
And the mental side of it, that's like the self-belief side, where did that come from?
The self-belief side comes from sheer confidence.
Yeah.
Sheer confidence. I mean, like once you win once, then you know you can do it again.
Yeah.
Like it's just a natural, it's a natural aspect that, you know, if you lose and you think you've done the best, then you're going to doubt yourself the next time.
Yeah.
You just have to look back at what you did and didn't do to then move on to the next place.
Yeah.
And so if you can continue to win, you might get second or third, but you're still there. You know, you're on the cusp.
Yeah.
There's so many riders that are out there that just like, oh, they get fifth and it's just like, yes, I've made it. And it's just like, well, no, you haven't, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, yeah, I'm doing really well. It's just like, you just have to have those ambitions and just like get to the top.
And what was your biggest victory? Like what did you win by? Like the biggest, so mountain biking can go down to hundredths of a second, and sometimes it can blow out to these amazing wins. So what was your biggest win?
I don't know.
Do you have any recollection, or it doesn't matter? A win is a win.
It doesn't really matter, but I think
It's not a boasting point to you in that case. It's just a win.
I think Crystal Mountain, I'm not even sure if I won, but I'm pretty sure I won Crystal Mountain. And like that was a track that you really had to have your balls out. Like it was different. Like it was like the track, no disrespect to any track builder, but like you had to go fast, like 100% fast. And so that was the one where all the big names were there and I was there as well. And so I was just like, all right, I'm just going to hang it out and just get it done. And the track sort of suited me. I mean, you go across a piece and then come into the next section and just flying through the trees like nothing else. And then just the rest is history, basically. I was just in the zone, pretty much. I was going to win no matter what.
And one thing I really enjoyed about mountain biking compared to motocross racing was the camaraderie of all the riders. That's one thing that I liked when I was racing, that I could be sitting next to Steve Pete on a chairlift, and I was just a punter. Like I was never a great mountain bike racer, but I was there as a competitor and having a great time. But I'd be sitting with those boys and I got to know some of the best riders in the world on a friendship basis. There's no ego, there's no class segregation. Whereas in the world of motocross, it's so, because you are lining up against 40 dudes, it's very, there's a lot of ego involved in that sport. And I've always loved that with mountain biking. So let's go on to some of your friendships you've made through the sport.
Oh, basically, there's been so many friendships along the way. It's just been hard to sort of pick through. I mean, like Chris Kavarik is one of my best friends still, and like we first raced on the crank team together, and we literally had nothing, and so we had to work together, and it wasn't like a forced friendship. We just got along. And
we both know Chris didn't want to be there. He wanted to be back home.
He wanted to go home, and there was a point there where he's like, I got no money. I was like, square word, I'm going to pay for it. I had little money as well, but I was like, no, you're staying here because I need you.
Yeah.
I need you to be here. And that was it. And then like he was racing for his balls on, where is it? I forget the place, but he got second place, and that was just enough money for him to stay.
Oh, that was second in the World Cup to Nico?
Yeah.
That was Squaw Valley.
Squaw Valley.
I was actually at that one. I was the year I went over and followed you guys around for a few races. Yeah. And I raced at that event as well. But that was, Squaw. And there's I've got a photo somewhere of Nicholas Ville shaking hands with Chris Kavarik, looking down at him going, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And I think Nico only won because he had his guys in his ear on the way down the hill, and he had communication to know whether he was going to beat him or not, or he had a spotter or something. They had some communication with Nico, so he knew he had to dial it up. Otherwise, Chris would have won that event. Yeah,
there are rumours of that, but I think those rumours are true.
Yeah,
that they used to use little earplug things and like
the French, mate.
give them like little updates.
Yeah.
Where me and Chris didn't have that. Chris was just racing for his flight home.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like if I don't win or if I don't get prize money, then I have to go home.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, no, stuff this shit. I'll pay for you to stay here. You know, I've got little money myself, but if I don't have you with me, then I'm gonna have to go home as well.
Yeah.
And so that was when we went on to Mammoth and we got first and third or whatever it was, and then we became noticed, and then we got proper contracts and stuff. Like that's what the Australian camaraderie involves, you know. Like.
And where can we go with that? So, if I just ask for your three, like, what are your three biggest moments in mountain biking?
Three biggest moments.
Yeah.
I'd say winning Alpe d'Huez. That was sick. Doing the world record jump.
Oh yeah, we'll move on to that in a minute. So yeah.
And I think I won another big race somewhere. I've won heaps of races, but like.
How many Aussie championships?
I think 3, but you can.
So did you win a junior world championship?
Yeah.
So junior world champion.
Yeah, twice.
Two-time junior world champion.
2-time junior world champion, and then I think
World Cup champion overall.
Yeah.
And how close did you get to a senior world championship?
Third.
What year was that? So this is when I'm out of the sport. So if you won, I would have known, you know, and I would have rung you, but I didn't know.
Arai, Sweden.
Right.
I think, man, like you joggle my memory as well.
Yeah. Oh, you've done a lot of, been down a lot of hills. So, hey, let's have a little chat about your helmets here. So we got Nathan to bring these in today as well. So this is the story you just mentioned on. So talking about this helmet and what you did with this helmet.
Yeah, right. So when I was riding for Red Bull, we came up with these crazy ideas to do the world record jump. And I knew that I was capable for it. And all the smaller jumps were, you know, they're still 70, 80 foot sort of thing. But I think I still had to beat like over 120 foot. And so you push it back. It's all mathematical. So like the speed and the trajectory and all that sort of stuff works. And so, but then this was the final jump, which I actually crashed on. So I've got some marks there. It's not anything too bad, but I still stacked my brains out. And I think my jump was 123 feet.
And where was that done? Where did you do that?
That was in Kuvapiti.
Right. So that was a toe-in?
Toe-in jump, yeah, because you can't go... Well,
can't pedal that fast.
No, you can't pedal that fast. I'd like to...
Nigel Begg might have a crack.
Yeah, I'd like to say you could do that.
Yeah. And another helmet we've got... So that was... What year was that? That was 05 or later? Probably 2010 or something maybe?
No, maybe 05, yeah.
Okay, that early, yeah. And around that time you got involved in a mini... It was before vlogs, but you guys did like an on-the-road... thing around Australia or something in a bus?
Yeah.
What was that?
I was Red Bull something.
Oh, that was a Red Bull series as well.
It wasn't a series. It was just like a TV series. It was just like a freight train. That's what it was.
Freight train, okay.
Yeah, Red Bull freight train.
And the premise of that was what? Travel and ride?
Yeah, so we just travel to the next destination, ride, travel to the next destination, ride, and then just like show like the painted desert, the whole deal.
Okay, yeah.
The desert. It was a great little trip. It was a really good idea.
And what did you have, mountain bike and BMX guys? You had a mixture of the two?
It was all mountain bike guys, although like some of the guys had like BMX histories.
So more freestyle riding as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I remember seeing that on whatever one of the sports channels were on the pay TV packages that used to pop up on that all the time. So, and okay, next helmet.
All right,
rundown.
Okay, so that's the World Cup overall helmet. So like I was doing really good in the points, and so then Troy Lee was happy enough to paint me a custom helmet for that job, and so it is pretty damn sick. And so, yeah, that was the final run to win the overall.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Another thing we brought in today as well. What the hell's this?
Oh, that's it.
Explain this.
Right, this is the Nathan Rennie custom shoe. There's not a lot of them around, and so they're from 510, and so we tried to like create something, because I used to play basketball, and so like we wanted to build a boot, which wasn't necessarily a basketball boot.
Can I come back to basketball?
Yeah, sure.
But before we go on to the boot, do you remember where I lived at Palm Meadows and we had a basketball court down the back?
Yeah,
Okay,
I do.
so
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. Sorry, Nathan, but I'll tell you this quick little story. We had a concrete basketball court with a steel ring, and at best, Nathan and I are literally the same height and about the same weight. At best, at the top of my basketball career, when I played basketball for 10, 15 years, I could just slam dunk. And I've probably slam dunked 2 or 3 times. I'm playing one-on-one with Nathan. He slam dunks over my head on a concrete basketball court. So the guy can play basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I used to play for the Hawkesbury Jets. Shout out to the Hawkesbury Jets, because we had a few guys that could dunk on the team, and it was great. But then like when it come down to the crunch, I had a pretty good vertical leap, and so I had some good old dunks there, and I was only 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
But I was still 6'2", but I had a good vertical leap. So I used to win a couple of dunk competitions, and I did pretty well at it, pretty well at basketball. But then mountain biking just took over.
Yeah. Back to the shoe. Let's go. So this was designed by 510.
Yeah, 510 right there.
Okay. And show us the bottom. I can't see any SPD clips on the bottom of that thing.
Nothing.
So have you ever worn clips in your life?
Yeah, I have.
Actually, let's go back to the AIS. Remember the day we did the spin test? We had to go get a set of pedals off your push bike to put on it because they only had SPDs on the machine, and we put flat pedals on.
Yeah.
And you set a record. So this is for all the non-believers. Nathan Rennie set the power output record at the AIS for raw power with flat BMX pedals, and probably set a Dunlop volleys at the time.
Yeah, well, that's not entirely true, but I think just you jog my memory, but I punched out, I think 1800 watts, 1800 watts on flat pedals, but then I got up to on clips on 2060.
Oh, we did swap to clips. Okay, well that's beyond my memory. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but yeah, it was just one of those things. I didn't want to wear clips, and I'd never used them before.
Yeah, and you never raced with clips your whole season, your whole career?
I tried once, and I hated it.
Yeah.
So gone.
Yeah. No. And if you just went for a not that Nathan Rennie would ever go for a cross country ride, but if you did, if you went for a social ride with a group of blokes, you'd just be running flat pedals anyway.
Just flats, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd be proud of this. My mountain bikes now, my e-bike anyway, is flat pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because the bike is heavier, the dynamic is different.
Yeah, my e-bike as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting that because in that time when you guys were coming through, there was such debate on pedals. It was all about, you can't win. And it was literally you and Chris were, and probably Palmer were probably the only 3 athletes.
And Sam Hill.
Yeah, this is before Sam though.
Yeah.
So before Sam, and I think was Palmer clipped in on downhill racing?
No, I'm pretty sure
he was
ran
flat
flats,
the whole
but
time.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you guys changed the path there. You made people question the validity of SPDs. That's for sure. So
yeah, that was it. It was just like, I don't want to be clipped into something. I mean,
yeah,
there's always a thing where you use your feet to then turn. So then you can, with clip pedals, you're going to clip out, right? And you have to clip back in. But if you were a flat, then you can push the bike that way.
Hey, we don't clip in on a motorcycle, mate. So I don't get it. Hey, I remember you did something. I do remember something about when your race at Big Bear. You did something over the finish line jump.
Oh, backflip.
Yeah, I think you were the first guy in mountain biking to actually pull a backflip in a race run or a practice run or something down on the
Yeah.
downhill course.
Yeah, well, if you can backflip, then you can backflip. If you know you're not going to win, then you just do a backflip anyway.
But mate, at 6'3", you got to get that rotation in pretty tight. You got to tuck.
Yeah, I think the first time I did it was in Mammoth, and I was unsuccessful with it. But then I've done plenty of backflips in races before. Like
Yeah.
like I've got a dirt jumping background as well, so you can.
Okay. Hey,
So you can do
so
that,
kind of explain to me your riding technique, your riding style.
Riding style, well, that's a big one, really. But you can, I don't know. I just try and link everything together.
Yeah. So you're in the process of putting together riding clinics and riding schools.
Yeah, well, we've still got Lower 45,
Yeah.
which is our coaching clinic. It's mainly based out of New Zealand.
Right.
We haven't been running that for a little while, just because my friend Dixon had kids and I've had kids and all that sort of stuff, so it made it a little bit difficult. But yeah, we try and cover like most aspects of riding.
Yeah.
A lot of our customers were basically looking to how to ride.
Yeah.
Where I sort of wanted to look at how to race like correctly and like every section is a different section, of course, but at the same time, like, you just gotta.
And in Australia, you're gonna start doing that here.
Yeah, I mean, like once I get my feet on the ground and just get everything sorted, then it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
I just got to get back to racing, and like I'm not out of shape, but I need to be in more shape.
Yeah.
So I can.
Vet class, mate.
Well,
Gonna start racing some vet class races.
Yeah, well, I'm 42 now, so I think I'm.
You know, my biggest regret of downhill racing is I was 35 to 40 in there, and I never raced a vet race in except for the World Championships. I never raced a vet race in Australia. So I was watching these guys winning the vet Australian downhill championships, and my times were equal to them, but I kept racing pro class, and it's like I just didn't do the swap over to vet class.
Yeah.
So not that it bothers me now, but it's like, maybe I should have gone out and won a title or something, but whatever that's worth. So I'm going to wrap up on your downhill career, and we're just going to move on to just general things. So you finished your career in 2009 as a downhill racer?
Racing World Cup, yeah.
Racing World Cup, yeah. So was that a relief to be done with it, or was it painful to walk away?
Well, it was kind of painful to walk away, but at the same time, like I had Evie, my daughter, and I had a couple of lingering injuries, and the sponsorship thing was fine. But like after racing from 14 to for that long, however long that is, you start to get a little bit weathered. Like a few injuries. I mean, like my knees all stuffed, like. Yeah.
And what do you miss the most? Is it the people, the events, the adoration, the winning?
Tell you
what
what, like the friendships was really good because that's what gets you through it.
Yeah.
But winning was the best.
Yeah.
Like winning was the best. I mean, not even winning, but like being on the podium was the best. And like satisfying your sponsors is one thing, but then at the same time, you want to satisfy yourself.
Yeah.
As well. And so like even if I would like get second or third, you sort of feel down about yourself, but then at the same time you just got to look to next week.
Yeah. So as a racer at your level, once you've had wins, are the second's pretty shitty?
Yeah.
And the third's real shit?
You didn't win.
Yeah, okay. So that's just pure mindset that once you've tasted it, it's a drug. You want more of that.
That's it. Like once you're on top of the podium, then you don't want to move from there.
Yeah.
And if
how did the friendship go between you and the guy you were mates with 3 weeks ago, but now you're beating him and he's trying to beat you? Was the friendship tight, or does that start to get a bit splintered? Or you just don't talk, you just stay away from each other?
No, like we all want we all want to help each other win. And to be honest, you need each other to try and win. But when you get beat, sure, you just feel a little bit down, but at the same time, there's always next week.
Yeah.
So you got to just still work together, which is fine, and you congratulate your counterparts, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah.
Who's the one rider? The one rider that you just went, damn, I just can't get him, or was there someone that stands out?
Well, not really, to be honest.
So that's more you. That's that you felt you were letting
I
yourself down. Like you weren't going, that guy's better than me. I've got to be better. I've just got to be quicker. You were always focusing on yourself, not on someone else.
Yeah, it was just one of those. It's one of those weird things. I mean, like all of us top guys have different talents and on different trails, and you could tell that they have different yeses and nos.
And then you get to know that anyway. So you get to know, oh, Manar's going to be quick on this track, or and then you go, no, I've got these boys on this. You'll know where you're good.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like there's plenty of guys where you know that they're probably going to get you. I mean, like even Lopes, you say like on those sort of BMXy type tracks, like you know that like I'm going to have my work cut out for me. Like I've beaten him a couple of times, but yeah, like say A-Line in Whistler, like he's got that covered, but I have beat him on it. But at the same time, I can't beat myself up because he knows that stuff, and like even guys like Cedric and that, like they know what's going on. Like he's a little bit more flamboyant and things like that. But when he's concentrating properly, then like it's hard to beat those guys, like
yeah.
Yeah.
So post career, mountain biking's over. You made the decision to not race anymore. It wasn't a financial or no ride. Was it that did you make the decision to say I'm done?
No, it wasn't the decision to make to say that I'm done. It just scaled back.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, just like not really going to race World Cup. I'm just sort of do some local races, do coaching, and just basically enjoy myself instead of having the pressure of having to like what's the word, like having to succeed every single weekend.
Yeah.
And then also I've had some injuries. And
what's your worst injury from your racing career?
On what scale do you mean?
Oh, the one that knocked you about the most. It might have been the smallest injury, but it's the one that damaged you the most and took you out of the game for the longest.
Well, breaking my wrist was one thing, although that recovered not too badly.
Wrists are funny, eh? Like you'll get motocross guys that they can be career ending, and it's that much of your body. But
well, you can still see the stuff coming out of my wrist there.
Yeah.
I think it's called the navicular.
Right. And your biggest injury? What would you say? Like just the biggest?
I've been pretty lucky, to be honest. I have been pretty lucky.
But I don't think it's lucky. That just comes down to you have a skill set you use and you use it correctly. I think if you were just throwing yourself blindly off mountains and you didn't get hurt, you go, well, yeah, I was pretty lucky I didn't get hurt. But,
I think my patella there, when I broke that was really, really painful. So like that broke the kneecap, basically.
Yeah.
And so then, I've got a big gap there. It had to be removed. So I've got like 3/4 of a kneecap there. And that was not only painful, but I couldn't really walk properly, but I could still ride, which is fine. But then, dislocating my shoulder as well. Like,
oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2009, we're out. So 2010 is a new year. Where'd you go to? Where'd you move to? Where are you at? So your daughter, I've never met your daughter. So what year was she born, and when did that part of your life start?
Oh, she's 7 now. So where was she born? 2010, something like that. My math isn't that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's 7. She was born in 2015.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you stopped your career. You were living on the Gold Coast then?
Yeah, living on the Gold Coast there. We had a house going. Everything was pretty sweet. And then, yeah, separated from my wife at the time. And then she now lives with her grandparents. And so, but we still get, I still talk to her all the time. And she even stayed here for a little while as well.
So your daughter Evie is 7, and where's she living?
She's living in on the Gold Coast.
Oh, so you see her regularly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
we have an open arrangement.
Yeah. And I know you've sent me a few photos. She's a bit of a wild child as well.
Yeah, she's a bit of a wild child. I mean, like she likes riding a bike and she likes going to doing gymnastics and stuff. So
Yeah.
she's pretty sweet too. Like she's well mannered and all that sort of stuff, which is weird because I'm sometimes not well mannered. But
And,
but she's doing well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're currently in a relationship with a lady. Everything's going well there.
Yeah, just in relationship with Sarah. She's over there somewhere, and yeah, things are going along pretty well. So
Yeah, and Sarah seems to be really giving you a bit of a boost with picking up the all the pieces of Nathan Rennie and the profile. And I noticed she's quite active with getting your public page of Nathan Rennie
yeah,
up and running and doing things. And then you got into a bit of track building.
yeah. I've been doing track building for quite a while now, working with dirt art and a few other mobs. But I really just want to start focusing on that. Although I did have my own machine, but I recently sold it. But yeah, I just need to start focusing on that and just earning money that way, basically.
And notable builds. What have we done? What have we built?
Geez, got a fair few now. I've got it written down somewhere, but like working with dirt art, like you just travel around all around Australia. And
So you contracted them as a machine operator, pretty much. That's your role? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So your role, I know my local mountain biking place is Mount Joyce out here, so you had a lot to do with that. Was that with maintenance or the build of that? You had something to do with the build, didn't you?
We pretty much built the whole thing, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And who was that with?
That was through the national parks out there.
Oh, Southeast Queensland Water or something.
Yeah, exactly.
With Bill Van Haren?
SEQ, yeah.
Yeah, and Bill was he the...
He was the leading hand, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And great tracks. If you haven't ridden Mount Joyce, get out there and ride Mount Joyce. It's bloody... I go out there quite often and there's no one there, mate. And I go into Nerang and I've been yelled at Nerang for not people being abusive in Nerang, and I go, why I go there when I go to Mount Joyce?
Yeah.
Mountain bike by myself on some of the most amazing trails where, they're just such well-structured trails and they're not downhill BMX tracks. I don't like how the mountain biking is going that way now.
Yeah, it's a bit silly.
To me, they're like downhill BMX tracks. I like a bit of rock and drop-offs, and that's mountain biking to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Mount Joyce is really good. It's a good, easy sort of ride as well. Like even the downhills that we built, like they're not like World Cup downhills. You can just go there and enjoy yourself. And
I walked a section.
yeah. Well,
I jumped off and walked down a section. I was with a mate.
You're not supposed to say that.
I know. Because I was with a mate. He thought I was some big badass downhiller, and we got to this rock drop off on is it Sargent's? I don't know. It's one of the double black runs. It's one of the double black runs. I got down. I went, nah, stuff this, mate. You boys can have that. And I rang my nephew Damo, who races downhill, and I go, mate,
Damo, yeah.
You boys have changed the shit. I wasn't riding my little 2.5-inch travel bike over that, so I walked it down. I ran up it the other day, and I might go and have a crack at it on the e-bike. So I was a bit. And Coralban, you had something to do with Coralban as well. You were working out there a little bit or something, or doing a bit of work.
Yeah, we were doing a little bit of work out there. Coralban just sort of the attitude out there changed a little bit, but
I've heard a lot of mixed reports about Coralban just with different people clashing, and but anyway, that's it.
Yeah, well, that's their job. That's not mine.
Yeah,
that's not yours either.
Yeah.
So whatever decision that they want to make, then that's it.
Yeah.
And if they don't have like money to build it, which I know that they probably do, but
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want Carrabin just wants us to be Carrabin.
It has
That's
some
it.
amazing potential out there, though.
It does.
And I think that's the thing that is. I sit here and I go, it has everything sitting there to be Southeast Queensland's, probably one of Southeast Queensland's greatest little mountain biking spots. You can stay, you can eat, you can get coffee, you can have a beer.
Yeah.
You can do everything there and have some pretty cool mountain bike trails. But anyway, I'll see where it goes in the future. I think there's some stuff happening out there again now, and all we can do is sit back and be spectators, see what happens. So
Yeah. Well,
go and ride it. You can ride there? You can just go out there and ride there, or is there, what's the story?
No, you can just go out there and ride there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's no...
You can do shuttle runs, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a thing like...
I did hear the locals got a bit peeved at one of their events last year, and they put a roadblock on the road up top of the hill.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that one, but like...
Yeah.
it's
What
just
was it?
kind of
The
like-
Oceanas? Was on maybe middle of last year. I went out and had a look. First downhill event I'd been to since probably Carrabin.
Yeah, right.
I think one of my last, I raced Thredbo as my last downhill race, but my last year of racing, I would have raced the Nationals at Carrabin. And I went out there to see my nephew Damo was racing, and Mike Sleater from MX Store was representing Intense. He was out there, so I went out and I felt like I was back at the races. It was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the boys were sending it, mate. I went half up the hill and they were just, yeah.
Like, all those places in Southeast Queensland, and this could even be a shout out to, all the trail builders out there and whatnot. It's just need a little bit of help. Like you go out and ride on some of these places and they're absolutely destroyed. Just like get those clubs together and just go out there. You don't even need a machine. You just need 10 people with a shovel and a McLeod.
Do you do any consulting work? Does anyone ever say, hey Nathan, we want to build a track, can you come and give us some advice?
It's happened in the past, but not for a long time.
Yeah, because, okay, as I am a mountain bike racer and knowing Nathan Rennie, I go out there and I can see Nathan Rennie in the hill. When I look at how the sections are put together, I go, this is pretty cool. And I can see your personality in the dirt. And it's the same as Glenn. You go to a Glenn Jacobs track, you can see Glenn's personality in a lot of his trails. It's all mellow and you can make it flow, and and there's some stuff out there that's like, yeah, Nathan put that in. to test people's, their prowess, how good they are.
Well, that's the thing. You got to test yourself. I mean, but then at the same time, you got to look at like the age bracket of mountain bike riders, and so like all the young guys, they really want to go out there and ride mountain bikes, but they don't have a car,
Yes.
So you have to go out with mum and dad.
Yeah.
And so mum and dad just has the generic mountain bike sort of thing, which isn't a bad thing. It's not, but at the same time, like they like worry about the kids and stuff like that. Like I'd probably be the same with Evie.
Yeah.
Like just like take it step by step, but at the same time, like when it comes race day, like it has to be top level stuff because all of us know exactly what to do.
Yeah. Mate, I'm gonna swing this 180 degrees. You reached out and got in touch with me 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
And your text message to me was as simple as, I need a mail talk. And I rang and I said, yep, let's get together. We went and had a coffee. So what prompted that message to me, a reach out? So we chat a little bit every now and again on Facebook, but this was a handout. Nathan needed some guidance or help, and I went, cool, let's get together and have a chat. So what prompted that?
Yeah, well, I can elaborate on that. I mean, like I've had a little bit of a up and down last few years, the whole divorceo thing, and I did develop a bit of a drinking problem, which I'm happy to talk about. And so I just needed a mal talk, I've always looked up to you, and like you've taken me to understand that, life isn't over, basically. I'm not saying that I'm going to do anything dumb, but like at the same time, like sometimes you just need a bit of extra help. I'm not saying that you're old, but you're older than me.
I'm a wise man.
A wise man. Well,
hey, old man speed, mate. I've been asked about it from people that say, well, you're not that old, mate. I go, well, at 59, surely I'm old. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're not old at all, but like that's the thing. I mean, that's like maybe one of the things that I can reach out to other people to say, like if you do have any sort of doubts in your mind or about where your direction is or where you're going, then just speak out to your elders and speak out to your friends and just surround yourself with good people.
I think that's the important thing, Nathan. Like I really focus on the energy and the people around me. I know Jason McAlpine from Gypsy Tales has mentioned a few times, g'day Jace, about you're the product of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So if you're around good people, I try to generally be around good people and you get a good thing out of that. But then at the same time, it's nice to be able to assist someone like yourself that's just probably just a bit of, what I see is you get a little bit lost in direction and you just need a bit of buffering back in.
Yeah, blinkers.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I take over the Uncle Mal role and sort of step in and, I'm no advisory panel on saying, well, I think you should not do this or do that, but it's almost flattering in one way that you do see trust in me to come forward. So one reason doing this podcast was I felt you had a bit of a story you wanted to tell about, there's Nathan Rennie, World Cup champion. Okay, so that guy's the guy that was in everyone's eyes for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years as a professional athlete on a global scale. Now we're Nathan Rennie, we're living in Bow Desert in Queensland, and we're reaching out for help and just saying, I think to me, I felt it was like I'm just a bit lost. I need a bit of mojo back, and that's kind of what I felt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, like I lost my mojo there for a little while, and I didn't really know my exact direction. I knew where I wanted to go, but the pathway there was kind of becoming a bit of a hard task. And so I didn't really do the right things. Drinking alcohol was a big part of that. And I don't mind talking about that either because it has been a problem. I'm an honest person. And so I just wanted to, reach out to the people that care and have helped me before. And I honestly just needed just that little bit of boost, just to keep going.
Let's touch on the drinking side then. So, and I don't want to harp on this, and I don't want to attack you in any way or make you feel, but
that's fine.
You're open to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, how long has it been a problem in your life? Do you think drinking?
Well, I started drinking at a young age. I'm not blaming anyone, but my family was full of alcohol. It was full of alcohol. Mm-hmm. And so it was just kind of the norm. And like where I grew up down in Sydney, it was just like, we'll just go meet at the pub sort of thing and do that. And so I thought I was just having fun, but I didn't realize at the time, like, of the repercussions of it. So then you go and drink, and then all of a sudden, like the social aspect of it goes away. It goes away. Like, sure enough, you can go and play pool, and all of a sudden your game gets kind of crappy, and then you're basically drunk, and you can't do much about it. But if you do it for long enough, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah,
it becomes a major problem.
And where are we at now today? Where are we sitting?
Well, we're sitting at like a weaning off period. I've went to see the doctors about like what to do, mm-hmm. and I have been in a rehab situation before. I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind
let's go.
I don't mind telling anyone.
Well, all I see is this is helpful to other people. I think this is extremely helpful to people that think a pro athlete goes through their life and the rest of their life is a golden path. This is an important thing, that there would not only be Nathan Rennie, there'd be hundreds of guys in your position, footballers, soccer players, basketball players, or whatever, that would be going through these same struggles.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, like I know a lot of other pro athletes, but whether it be football, even cricket or athletics and stuff like that. Like when, see, you go through this pathway where like everything's sweet, you're earning all this money and everything's so, and you can't do anything wrong. But then what comes with that is the dinners, and then the pub trip, and then having drinks at night, and then all of a sudden you become an alcoholic. Yeah, it's difficult, and it's a little bit hard to suck up, but it's.
So you've admitted that. So you literally just say, well, that's what I am. That's yeah. Well, that's a very brave.
Yeah.
A very, very brave thing to do. So, like, mate, that's why I wanted to do this thing myself, is I wanted to just be able to have a talk with you about it and see where you're at and what journey you're on. So have you hit a bottom? Did you hit a bottom somewhere where you sent me a photo one night that was pretty, I won't put it on, but it was pretty distressing for me to see where you had actually been hurt.
Yeah.
And I kind of, for me, I was very sympathetic towards that, and it was, I don't know what's going on here, but I know alcohol's involved. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind talking about it, and to those guys and girls that are listening to this podcast. I mean, like, alcohol is it's a drug. It is a drug, and it changes you. From walking around and like doing exercise. That's a totally different thing. There's a line in the sand, It's just like, okay, exercise and then being a pisshead.
Yeah.
And like, I've had days where I wake up in the morning and I was that hungover that I was just like, well, what do I do? I try and drink as much water as I can. It's just like not fixing it.
Yeah.
And then just have more.
And what were you drinking? What were you?
Wine.
Wine.
Yeah.
And reason wine?
Sorry again?
How come wine? What was the reason for drinking wine? Is it just price?
No, well.
Or you like the flavour?
Oh, I do have my selections of wine, but at the same time, it was basically like, if I drink hard booze, big problem, anger and distress, and it's basically
interesting. Yeah,
it's basically too much.
Yeah,
it's too much
too quick.
Too much too quick.
Yeah,
and we used to call like hard booze, fight your friends and coke. So you end up in these situations.
I'd never heard of that expression until you told me that the other day. I'd never heard it, and then I told someone else. They go, "Oh yeah, don't you know that?
Fight your friends and coke." Yeah. So then, like, I did a reasonably responsible decision to then I'll just drink wine instead. And I'll just have a couple of wines with dinner and things like that. But then all of a sudden, like, it was just like, if I crack the shit, pardon my French, but then all of a sudden, like, one bottle became two, and two became three, and then all of a sudden, like, I wasn't necessarily pissed.
Yeah.
But
topped up.
Yeah.
Topped up 24/7.
Top it up, yeah.
Yeah. And so where do you want to head to? Where do you think you'll be, or what's your ambition? What do you want to try and achieve?
Well, I mean, I've been in a situation where I've gone cold turkey, and health-wise, that's not feasible, because you can have seizures. I've had seizures before.
I remember you telling me about you had a seizure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can't really do that. So you just got to wean yourself off, do as much exercise as you can, eat as much as you can, and then just don't do anything stupid, basically.
Yeah.
So.
And are you aiming? So in your role, do you aim for total sobriety, or do you aim for a small amount of drink in your life, or what do you?
I personally think that with my mentality, it'll never go cold turkey, but it'll be like the casual wine with dinner, and then play some poker and then go to bed.
Yeah.
Instead of just like going out to the pub. Like, pubs is shit, man. They're so dumb. And so instead of going out there and getting into a fight or something like that, just keep it neat. And just regular, just have a couple of drinks, and then that's it.
Yeah. Look, I will say here, I'm not going to say any names or say this person is, but we've just gone through with a very personal relationship of mine. We've gone through it. We've seen the journey of alcoholism to sobriety, and it's a horrific journey to be trapped within. That's what you can see from the outside, and I guess one thing we see is it always comes from you. It always comes from that person. That person has to be the deciding factor in making change. And so what you're basically saying is you're seeking that change now. Yeah. And I can't wear the shoes of that. I mean, I haven't drunk. It's 20 years that I've been sober. And I was probably, when you were racing, I was your typical downhill mountain bike drinker. There'd be nothing and then there'd be a lot. And then, and then it'd be like, oh, why did I do that? So it was, 2003 was the last time I drank alcohol, New Year's Eve. Actually, it was before New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve of 2003. I stopped drinking, but I stopped for a week, and then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, and then after 3 months, I just went, I don't drink anymore. So, I just hope that you can find the balance, I guess, of what you want to, where you want to be with it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I desperately want to just be sober the entire time.
Yeah.
Although this isn't an excuse, by the way. Like having seizures like that.
Yeah.
That is dangerous.
Yes.
That is very, very dangerous. And so if you can just wean yourself off, like not even slowly. But
and you're doing that medically now, aren't you, through doctor supervision? Is that correct?
Yeah. So slowly just getting rid of the desire, and I've been going to the gym and just trying to do as much as I can to just stay occupied, basically.
Yeah, I think you've got to try and get that addiction onto something else, haven't you?
Yeah. Well,
and you guys drank through all your racing career. This is the crazy thing. Like I don't want to make light of this, but the Aussie boys had a bit of a reputation for. They could dominate the world, but be the biggest party boys at any event anywhere. Yeah. So I'll go back to one memory I know was the year of 9/11 at we were all at Squaw Valley, and I was over there. Jeff Stieber flew me over to look after Chris, and there was Chris came into we were sleeping in the same room, and Chris came in at 4 a.m, and you'd all been arrested.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I've been arrested a few times, but...
And this is at a World Championships. This is so weird. And the race hadn't even been done yet. We were on a Wednesday night or something, and Chris goes, the three of us got arrested tonight. Do you remember what happened that night? Or?
No, coincidentally.
I remember there was not much clothes and swimming pools and a fire hose. That's all I know.
This is in Vail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vail, Colorado. Sorry, I said Squaw before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Vail, Colorado. And I just remember looking at the fire hose and it's just like, okay, this is on. So I just dragged the fire hose inside the hotel and just hosed the whole place down.
And this is 2 days after 9/11 has just happened, so America is on absolute tenterhooks.
Yeah. This is like the night before the race too. It's just like...
and didn't the cops come and you hosed them down or something as well? Or...
we didn't
I
hose
just heard
them down,
so many stories.
Yeah,
I heard they crash tackled you to the ground, the police.
Yeah, crash tackled me to the ground, and then I don't know what happened after that, but like I just started urinating.
And there was an Australian downhill racer, a female racer that was apparently on the back of the cops trying to get them off you because you had a bad shoulder.
This is all just funny stuff, but it's all in the past. But like, drinking that much excessively.
There's so many rumors. I mean, look, you can laugh about it, but you kind of go, geez, there is a little saying, like I always just say, I've never seen anything real good come out of alcohol. I've seen some funny things come out of it, but it normally ends in a bit of a disaster.
I think I still got 7th at the World Championships there.
Yeah, I think you did quite well there. Yeah.
Yeah, still did all right.
Yeah.
Not that I liked it, but yeah.
I was there in a role looking after Chris at that one, and Chris had the week before tried to jump across Jeff Stieber's pool and he came up short. And he, you're right.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Yeah. He come up short and hit his knee on the other side, and he couldn't walk. And he was at the World Championships trying to do a Kavarik on a swimming pool. What were you thinking, mate? So I got a phone call from Jeff just saying, look, I think Chris needs help at this Worlds. Can you come over? I'll buy you a ticket. I go, all right, mate, I'm on the plane. So yeah. But no, it's what else can we chat about?
I don't know. I mean, like we can talk about the Rennie and Kavarik stories as much as we want.
Yeah, I reckon we got to try and get Kavarik together whenever is he coming back to Oz soon, or do you know anything? Is he?
I don't know. I think he's pretty based over there for the time being.
He's scared of quarantine. Last time I saw him was at Mount Joyce.
Yeah, right.
He was out at Mount Joyce riding, and he had to, if he wanted to go back to Whistler, he needed to go 2 weeks quarantine. And just Kavarik, he's going, well, I'm not going to go and sit in a motel for 2 weeks. I go, well, stay here then. But he was miserable that he couldn't go back home. And it's like, well, you just got to put up with the 2 weeks, mate. Get it over and done with. But he must have done that because he's there now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him for a couple of days. But
Well, I think a podcast has to be done with the two of you together. And I'd actually even throw that out to my mate at Gypsy Tales to get you two on Gypsy Tales together, because he can link it up internationally and all that. And that would be an absolute classic.
Everyone actually wants that. I mean, like, even me and Steve spoke about this, like we should do a podcast together.
This is Steve Pete?
Steve Pete, yeah.
Man, I would not. When a guy even has beer drinker on the back of his helmet at a World Cup level, that was his Troy Lee helmet, had beer drinker.
Beer drinker,
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's just go through some of the biggest personalities and people. I am going to thank you for opening up on your alcoholism. I think that's a super brave thing.
Best way to do it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think also if that helps anyone else in any way to show that it's you've got a man here like Nathan Rennie, someone that's respected by so many, that has had a major trip up in his life, but he's still here, and that's I think this is the important thing. You're still here. And you know the person you want to be, and you still want to get to that person. And all I am is I'm not someone that's going to help you, but I'm just one of the 5 people that should be around you that you can. And I've actually said to Nathan, he's got my phone number 24/7 if he needs it. So let's close that chapter. Let's get back onto some fun stuff. So some of the biggest personalities in the sport. So you said Steve Pete. Sorry, Petey, but let's go.
Well, Steve's a funny one. I mean, like...
So you were teammates for how long?
I think it was 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. But, so, we were always kind of nemesis, racing. And then all of a sudden we just get pitted together on the syndicate, which is fine, which is great. But then,
So what was the team?
Santa Cruz Syndicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, actually, I think I was on the syndicate first, and then they had Steve come in, so it might have been 2 years or something like that. But anyway, Steve's a great guy, man. He's really, really down to earth, and he's got this nice place in Sheffield, and so.
That's right. He's a Sheffield kid, isn't he? That's in the UK. That's a very strong thing, is to go, I'm from Sheffield. Yeah,
Sheffield kid. He's really grounded, and he's actually, as much as he's dumb in some ways. But we're all dumb in some ways. But he's actually really smart on how he does his all his sponsorship stuff. He even taught me a few things about how to do it properly, because I was pretty blasé. But then, just going and staying at his house and stuff. Sure, he drinks and stuff like that, but he doesn't really do anything too silly. But then, he's got a wood down the back, and so we would just go and have these fires and just light it up. And as long as Adele, his wife, didn't really care about that, then that was fine. And then there's Farmer Jack as well that we used to come around, and Farmer Jack's a little bit of a unique character, and so this is becoming a story now. But
it's all about stories, mate.
So Farmer Jack climbed up this tree once, and so me and Steve had a couple of sherbets, and then so we got the axes out, and he was up the tree. And then so we just started chopping the tree down. And we chopped Farmer Jack out of the tree. So he fell with the tree down there. he broke his wrist.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, he broke his wrist, and it was just like, oh my god, I've snapped my wrist off, and so we rang the ambulance, and then like his wood is like quite a distance away, so we took him back up to the ambulance, put him into the ambulance, and went back to the fire and just kept drinking. Just didn't. We cared, but we didn't care that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Warner, did you have much to do with Rob?
Yeah. Well, no, not a lot to do with Rob. He's kind of his own soldier a little bit. But yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a funny guy, and he just does his thing. He went into commentary, all that, which he's a good commentator.
Is he retired now from commentary?
I'm not sure.
I had a feeling
sure.
that he was. Someone put in my comments below whether. I guess I can Google it. But I had a feeling that he might have been done because he did that for 10, 15 years or something.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I can't answer
definitely
that.
the voice of downhill, like just phenomenal. And it's kind of funny. Like I didn't know Rob great. I sort of met him through Michael Ronning back at the Palmer Party House. And
that's another story.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna come to that. So I met him there, and piss funny bloke. So let's talk about this. So I think it was, I can't even remember what year, but we were, Robbie, the boys in the van were there. So it was that year. And Sean Palmer was still kind of the big hardcore king of downhill, and everyone respected him when we were racing at Squaw Valley. It was the World Cup. It was the World Cup that Chris got second at. Now it's coming back to me. You two were still on the crank team. And we had a party. Sean Palmer had a party at his house. So I hope some people know who Sean Palmer is, but he was a legend snowboarder, mountain biker, qualified for Supercross in Anaheim. Like the guy's just an absolute legend.
Yeah,
had a party at his house.
Menace.
And all these young Aussie kids were there. So what are your memories of that night?
Well,
how about let's just go straight to it. Let's go to the garage downstairs.
okay, so the garage downstairs, I mean, like, so everyone's around there, then all of a sudden Palmer rocks up with a tub. And it's a tub and it's full of flour. like eating flour, you know, like
Making bread. Yeah.
And so then everyone was pissed as fuck, you know, and so then all of a sudden the flour started getting thrown around and like everyone was yelling and cheering and carrying on. And then after a short period of that, the police rocked up. And then it was so funny because we went out the front of his garage and they knew him by name. It was like, Sean, what are you doing? It's just like, and he was covered in flour. I was covered in flour. The whole place was just destroyed.
The painter of your helmet was there.
Troy
Lee was there. He was doing donuts in the garage on a Z50. He had 10 Z50s or something there.
Yeah, we're just doing donuts flat out. We're all taking turns. Voorhees was there doing something. So just like the whole place is full of flour
and someone got some cooking oil out of the kitchen and poured cooking oil on the garage floor. So then now you had a mixture of oil and flour. And I just remember seeing a pile of these Z50s outside the garage door at the end of the night. And I walked up the driveway with Michael Ronning, and Palmer had like a hunting, one of those hats with the big flaps down the side. He just said, "Welcome to my house, dude." I never met the guy. And it was everyone that was anyone in mountain bike racing was there at that party.
Yeah, you're jogging my memory now. I remember when...
Never to be repeated and never to be forgotten.
Because there was just literally a pile of Z50s.
Yeah.
Like just outside the garage there and covered in flour. Because he used to have like a little lap.
Around the house.
And so you would just like get on a Z50 and cruise around the house. Obviously everyone's pissed as buggery.
Yeah.
And so then, just like the cops rock up, pile of motorbikes. Even like, who was it? I'm not going to name names, but someone was on top of the pile of motorbikes doing a burnout on another bike. Just smoke going everywhere.
It was crazy. I know it's on a video. It's on one of, Robbie McNaughton had a video company what did he call his video company?
Black Phoenix Films.
Black Phoenix Films. So if anyone wants to look for that, I know there's footage of that party on one. So Robbie, you'll be watching this, mate. Put a link in the comments below. Get that thing up on YouTube because that was one hell of a night.
Yeah, it was funny.
That was crazy. Yeah, so mate, look, I reckon we're going to wrap it up. So
yeah, cool.
What else you got to say? What else you want to tell people or share with people? Is there any other, or do you reckon we've covered pretty much everything?
Oh, I think we've pretty much covered everything. I mean, well, not really everything, but there's plenty of other stories, and I still have in the pipeline of doing a book at some stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Renoir's memoirs.
Renoir's memoirs.
Renoir's memoirs. I mean, there's so many different things that people don't see behind the scenes and all that stuff. It's not necessarily about all the partying and all that sort of crap that goes on, but it's about like how to structure your practice and everything. Like, I mean, like I may seem like a bit of a rogue.
So it's going to be a training book? Is that what you're looking at putting together?
I wouldn't say.
Or is that a Nathan's life book on your racing, because there's opportunity there for probably two completely different stories.
Yeah, well, there probably is. Although at the same time, I mean, yeah, I mean that's probably the opportunity. I mean, I've got some stuff written down at home, but I just want people to realise that it's not just about racing. Mm-hmm. It's not. There's so many different aspects along the way.
That's the big thing in moto. So the reason I'm back moto riding, I've got my 450 sitting over here, as you can see. I don't give a shit about racing. I want to go out and hang out with my mates. So yesterday I rode with one of Australia's motocross legends who's 6 years my senior and was still 2 seconds a lap faster than me, and he's 6 years. He's 65 years old.
Yeah.
And he passed me and overtook me, and I go, man, I got some work to do. And that's the cool thing about it. Like, I don't want to go to a racing line with 30 guys. I probably will, 1 or 2 this year, but I just love going out and hanging out with the boys. And I think that was always the attraction of mountain biking. Even when I was racing, I just felt like I was hanging out with the crew.
Yeah,
and we do a couple of runs in between there somewhere. So, yeah.
That's it. That's the best thing about racing. I mean, although we're competitors, like the competitive side of it is on the track.
Yeah.
As soon as you're off the track, then you help each other. You know?
Yeah. So in the future with your coaching program, what are you looking at doing there?
Yeah, well,
let's just elaborate. We touched on that, but what's your, just in a wrap up, what are your goals with your coaching?
You know, the goals with coaching is basically to just help the young guys understand mostly about how sponsorship works and like not to get taken advantage of.
Yeah. And
also just having a structure and not necessarily having an exact practice procedure. You have to structure it yourself. And so you have to learn how to practice properly, because that's the only way you get to learn.
Are you going to put clinics together? Is that what your plan is? You're going to do training clinics? I think you should. There should be Nathan Rennie training clinics, mate. Hey, people are coming to Mal Dalton motocross schools, so I didn't win a World Cup. They should be going to Nathan Rennie's downhill training squads.
Yeah, I have thought about this.
And even so one of my biggest client base is not the guy that wants to race. It's the guy that wants to stay safe. It's the guy that wants to go out to our tracks, spin laps, and be able to go home to his family without a broken leg each night. That's my number one thing. I reckon that's something that you're probably not even really seeing is out there for you to be doing.
Yeah, well, that's exactly true, Mal. What I really want to structure about that is like having an online program. Yeah. Where you can talk to your clients and then tell them, like, just listen to their problems, or they may not have any problems, or structure, and then answer those questions.
Yeah. Let's see this up and running, mate. So I want to see it up and running. And I think, I see you've got your starting to do a vlog channel as well now. You've got your YouTube channel up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the name of the channel?
I don't know. Sarah did all that for me.
I think it's just Nathan Rennie.
I think it's just Nathan.
Check it out. Look up Nathan Rennie. Give him a subscribe and a follow, and check it all out and see. So I think she's been posting some good video clips of races in the past, and I think people will really enjoy watching that. Seeing some like, if you see Nathan Rennie ride a downhill bike, he splits rocks. He goes through corners and splits rocks in half. What he does is next level. And yeah, man, I just, all I can do is wish you the best of luck. And it's been 25 years that we've been friends, and
That's right. Yeah,
that's, it's a long time, and we've drifted apart. But I think that one good thing is, you can always call on me if you need me. So,
well, that's it. That's what friendship is, and like we've been friends for a long time. And like, I think the first time I came up, we were on the Gold Coast, and you just welcomed me with open arms, and I really think that.
yeah.
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 That was really
all right,
good.
mate, let's wrap it up. Nathan
cool.
Rennie,
Thank you very
thanks
much.
for your time, mate.
No
I
problem.
absolutely appreciate it. And we're going to do another one of these soon. We're going to come back with a fitter, faster Nathan Rennie and explore the story a little bit further.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, later on. So thank you so much.
Not a problem, and thank you all as well.